Okay, so we're going to start by creating some of these textures in Photoshop before we take them over to ZBrush. So we're just going to go File, New, and just create something like a 1024 by 1024 document. Okay, size of it doesn't matter too much as long as it has enough pixel density for now. Okay, then what you want to do is drag and drop in one of your awesome photo references that you used from earlier. Okay, and you're just going to want to press Enter. Okay, and what I suggest you do is you copy that layer, Control J, and rename it. Now we're going to create 3 different tones of texture. One's going to be dark and one's going to be a mid-tone, and the other is going to be the light tone. So I'm just going to start with the darkest one. I'll call that Dark Rock. Sounds like something from Star Wars, doesn't it? And I'm just going to rasterize that layer, and I'm going to lock that image and hide it. Okay. Now I'm going to use the free transform on this image. Shortcut is Control T, and I'm just going to scale that right up. So you're probably wondering why we need to create a dark tone, a mid-tone, and a light tone. Well, the plan is that these textures we're creating here are actually going to convert them into a brush, and we can paint them directly onto our model later on. And it's useful if you've got a bit of variety there. Makes it a bit more gritty and realistic. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah. All right, we'll go with that. So I'm just going to press Enter there to commit to this. Now what you'll need to do is press Control A to select the whole workspace area, and then you just want to go over to Image and select Crop. Okay, so that's just going to get rid of all of that other detail outside of it. Now you want to go to Filter, go to Other, go to Offset, and I'm just going to offset this image by 400 pixels to the right and 400 pixels down. Okay, it's important to remember how much you offset it by. Alright, so as I said, we're going to go for a darker texture, so I'm looking more at this area. Now, when I've offsetted it, I can see these seams. So in order to make it tileable, I need to get rid of these seams. So a good way to do this is to use the Clone and Stamp tool. Okay, the shortcut for this is S. What you want to do, choose the area that you're going to take information from. So mine is going to be here. Hold down Alt, click and drag that area, and then notice that when you paint, you're painting this area onto wherever you've chosen to go. So I'm just going to do that again, repeat that a few times. Alright, this is how we get a nice tileable texture. And you don't just want to use the same bit over and over because that's a little obvious. Mix it up just a little bit. It's always good to know how your texture reads from a distance. So if you're spending ages on this, what's probably advisable is that you go to the window and you turn on the navigator, and that way you can see your image from a slightly more zoomed out perspective. Okay, that's pretty good. So now that I'm mostly happy with this, I'm just gonna offset it again, and this time I want to put it back to where it originally was. So I need to now go minus 400, minus 400. Okay, that's pretty decent. I think this bit in the middle might be a little too repetitive, so I'm gonna fade that out just a little bit. I think that's good. Okay. So what you'll need to go ahead and do is repeat that, but with the lighter tones. So once you've got those 3 textures, go ahead and save them out as a PNG file. Okay, so now we're back in ZBrush and we've got our rock sculpt in front of us. We're now ready to start utilizing some of the assets we've just created. So what we're going to want to do is to turn off Z-Add for now and turn RGB on. So this is effectively the color channel. make sure that intensity is up to 100. We're going to use the standard brush and we're going to set our stroke to drag rectangular. We're going to make sure our alpha is off for now. And then where it says texture, I want you to go ahead and import, to start with, some of your reference images. Okay, so I got one of my reference images there. Just going to import some of the others at a different angle. So now click on texture and select one of your reference images. So what we try to do in ZBrush is save as much time as possible. Because I've sculpted this model from the same angle as my reference images, I can actually drag and drop some of the imagery straight over my rock like this. That will actually help to save a lot of time. Now what you'll probably notice if you've tried doing this is that your rock will be slightly faded out. And this is because of the focal shift. So I'm just going to hit Ctrl Z to undo that. Make sure your focal shift is at -100. Now when you drag the rock out, colour should be just a little bit more intense. So that's worked to some extent. There is another problem, and that problem is that our material is still set to matte cap grey. Now we don't want that when we're doing colour detail because it's effectively going to treat this grey colour as an overlay. So what we think will be a certain colour in ZBrush won't actually be that colour when we put it out as a texture to 3DSMAX. So just select a really neutral colour. You can go with matte cap white if you want, or skin shade 4. It's up to you. I like skin shade. Okay, so I'm just going to drag that out again. That's pretty close. Now, as you'll see, it'll stretch around the front side, and that's because we don't have that information. Same with the back and the adjacent side. That's not so bad for the front. That's a good starting point. This is mostly just to save time. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select one of our other images to drag over. Now what we have to bear in mind is that if I was to drag this out now, it will actually go over some of the work that we just completed on the other side. So we need to mask off sections of the model. And we can do that by holding down Control. And if we go to Brush, make sure that we've got something like Mask Recton or Mask Lasso. Either of those are fine. I'm just going to mask off sections of our model. Alright, now with that masked off, we can draw out this section. Just going to try and get it to fit as best as I can. That's not bad. Okay, now once you've done that, you'll of course want to deselect the mask, so do that by holding down Control and clicking and dragging. Okay, that's not bad. Now, of course, you are going to get seams. That's absolutely fine. We're going to go over that in a minute. Don't worry. Now, I'm going to hold down Control, mask off another section of my model, and I'm going to use this back texture on it. Same method. You don't have to be too pedantic about this stage, guys. We will be going over it, as I say, with those all lovely looking textures we created just a short while ago. Okay, do you know what that'll do? Alright, so now we've at least got a starting point with our rock texture. Now what we want to do is start using some of those tileable textures that we created in Photoshop. So what you want to do is to select the stroke to alpha 1, so it's got a little bit of a fade around the edges on it, and then you want to import those textures you just created. So as you can see, I've got one of my darker textures there. Now what you'll notice, if you drag this out, it will actually paint that texture straight onto your model, like so. And you can repeat this all the way around. So as you can see, straight away I'm just going to really be brave with it and use it to cover all of that area where I've got some stretching from where we pulled out that reference image. over our model. Alright, maybe use one of my lighter textures around here. Don't be afraid to experiment with this, guys. Use loads of little draft textures. Okay, it doesn't matter if they're no good. You just throw them away, use some others. It's absolutely fine. Don't be afraid to experiment. You can see I've got quite a few selections of rock here. Yeah, that's good. It's a little bit light for this section, isn't it? So going to want to use a darker texture there, I think. As you can see, I've certainly created more than just one texture, haven't I? Get some warmer tones in there as well. Rocks aren't all grey. You've actually got quite a range of colours in them. So don't be afraid to go and get all that information in. Okay,